Go ahead.
You're talking a lot about visual character, but where exactly do you incorporate things such as character design? Like, where do you start and how would you make a role model?
Depends on your particular writing style. Some things also depends on the story. Sometimes you might look at a story as, I want to write a story about this. So you come up with the overall narrative. This is the story. Now, what kind of people would be in there? People like this, people like that, people like that. You draw from that your characters. You can also start it from the other side. I want to write a story with a character like this. What kind of world would that character be in? What would that character do in that world? So you can start it from either end. Just that some writers will just sit down with a blank piece of paper and be like, story. Other ones, like me, will sit down and be like, alright, let's outline some things. Let's get character biographies. Let's write out all the biographies of the characters and start from there. Let's put them into this world and go from that. Answer pretty well?
You mentioned about giving characters flaws to try to make them like not American and such. I know that sometimes people will do something called faux flaws, where it's like it's meant to be a flaw but not really. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's where you get into like Mary Sue's, Gary Stu's, whenever it's a faux flaw. Like, every time I aim a gun, it's just bam, right in the bullseye. I can't miss. It's not a flaw. You want to avoid those as much as possible because that gets into the too perfect at everything stuff. Like, oh, I trip constantly, but that's how the enemy is defeated. You gotta be careful about that. What's your question?
Yeah.
I have two. My first one is, I'm not very good at like getting like an outline and stuff. So my full first story is going to be mostly free written. Mm-hmm. And also my second question is there a thing as too many characters?
Yes, there are. Actually, if anybody's ever read anything from crack.com, they just had a thing about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen where they said, the first thing you need to do is decrease, cut the character list in half. I don't really think you need to go that far. But I mentioned Naruto before. Naruto has a huge cast of characters. Bleach, too. And if you're just doing something short, like a single novel or something, it's way too many characters. The more characters you have, the more time you need to develop each character. Otherwise, you have basically useless characters. You have people that nobody's going to care about. So when you get through it, and one of them dies, it's supposed to be a dramatic thing. It's dramatic to you because you've got the character in your mind. They mean something to you. If you haven't gotten on paper or on film or whatever, what that character means to you, to the audience, then they're going to die and be like, don't care, on to the next thing.
It's like, fine.
So you want to keep your character base small enough that it's intimate. Imagine a social gathering. If you're at a ball and there's 100 people there, you're not going to be able to talk to everyone and get everyone's life story and care about any of them. You're going to have 2 or 3 people to talk to and it's like, oh, you're interesting, I want to talk to you. So, if you've got 5 people in your story, even if they're in a room of 100 people, if those 5 are the characters of the story, those 5 move it and motivate it, you can get people into those 5. Now, anything they do with the other 100 people, they're definitely going to care about those 5 more than the other 100 or the other 95. I can't do math. Back again. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. This might be a nitpicking question, but I have issues when it comes to like synthetic words.
Yes.
For example, like instead of saying and, I might say like plus, and then I realize I might say it like way too much in a paragraph. Is that possible to have too much of one word or what?
Absolutely.
Thesaurus.com. I'm not kidding. I wouldn't have finished my novel without that.
When my book was being edited, my editor highlighted a paragraph, and she's like, you realize in one paragraph you used the word they 5 times. And I was like, nah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I did. In that case, like he said, break open a thesaurus, look at it. Another way to do it is, if you're looking at it, it's like, all right, I've used they, I've used he, I've used she, and I've still got 3 theys in there. Then you can look at maybe write a descriptor of the person. They did this, they did that, and turn into they did this. The group did that, or signified of this person or these people. But yeah, there's definitely, you can be repetitive to things, especially in the same paragraph. You want to avoid using the same term too many times on the same page, particularly. Because, thank you. You flip the page, and now you're on to a new page, so the things that were on the last page aren't as fresh into the mind. So if you use they 3 times on that page and use they 3 times on this one, you can get away with that. You don't want to use it 6 times on the same page. Same with like a descriptor of a character, like the ninja did this, the ninja did that. So the ninja did this, the darkly clad man did that or said this. But yeah, there is definitely a limit where you can hit, whoa, use that word too many times. Next question. Okay.
Because of your writing process, which actually is similar to mine, how many drafts do you usually go through before you tell yourself this is some sort of standard before maybe you brought it into the editor or whomever it is?
Drafts before I finish a story, or drafts before I submit that to the editor to say, here?
Before you submit it.
Let's see. They call it rewriting, which is really a bad term because rewriting sounds like, all right, I wrote it, delete it, let's try it again. Rewriting is really just initial editing. The first thing you're going to do, you're going to write it all out and be like, all right, cool. And you're going to reread it, and you're going to fix your spelling errors, your typos, your
I was going to say, have someone else read it too before you hit the editor.
Yeah. Your misspelled woes. I meant to spell woe wrong 3 times in a row. Whoa, whoa, whoa. W-O-A-H. That went all the way to the editor. Because I read through there and I was like, yep.
I did too.
How many times? Let's see. Escort is made up of 3 stories. Shrine Maiden Secret, Sultana's Journey, and Welshman's Hut. Shrine Maiden Secret is the oldest story. It went through 6 versions before the publisher saw it. Sultana's Journey went through 3 or 4.
Sounds about right.
Either 3 or 4 versions. The Welshman's Hunt was one of those. I gave both of them, and the publisher was like, these are really good. Can you give a 3rd one to us by the end of the month? Yes. I sat down and I wrote it in 48 hours.
I don't think you slept much.
I did not. I didn't know what the word sleep meant at that particular time. That one only went through 2 versions because, like I said, it was down to the wire. And really what you want to do, once you finish it, say, all right, perfect. Set it down, walk away from it. Don't read it again for a week because you will have things like you're missing words in a sentence and you won't notice it because you just wrote it. It's still fresh in your mind, so you'll read through it. It'll be like, we did this, and did is missing, we this, but you'll read it as we did this.
Don't forget too, if you're like him a lot, he gets a lot of big words and doesn't know what layman's terms is sometimes.
Superfluous is my favorite word. Superfluous is an example of itself. Superfluous, if you don't know, means a word that is unnecessarily large. Superfluous can be cut down into 3 letters, B-I-G.
So if you're talking about like Chinese history, like what he does a lot, try to have someone else who's not entirely into it read it because they'll point out, wait, this name sounds way too much like this name. He did that with Sultana's Journey. Fatima was actually named
Shejar. She's based off of the historical person, the Shejar al-Dur, means tree of pearls in Arabic. But the main character is Seifa, the other main character is Shejar.
It was too confusing for someone who's not entirely up with the history.
So we changed Shejar's name to Fatima.
To be able to tell the difference better. So just try to remember that too. Have a few people proofread it because everyone will kind of give you an idea of, all right, this works well, that works well. It's basically the more people that see it and can say, oh wait, you spelled that wrong. Because we both went through this entire time with escort, entirely forgetting that escort has a double meaning, not only escort missions, but also a prostitute.
Yeah.
We went through the entire time making this book and never even once thought of that until my grandfather said, "Oh, it's about prostitutes."
It's like, no, it's about soldiers taking a person. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, just kind of remember that not everyone kind of can understand things. Oh, one more.